Welcome to another edition of Boston Sports Nuts. I want to welcome my two good friends, my good friend of almost 40 years, the president of the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox in the Cape Cod League, Paul Izzo. How you doing, Paul?
Jim, great to be with you today.
And unfortunately, our other good friend, Ken Berman, can't be here today, but filling in for Ken, all the way from Colorado, the man, the myth, the legend, former member of Sports Nuts, making his first appearance on Boston Sports Nuts, Jan the Man Goldstein. How are you?
Hey, guys, good to be here. Good to be back. Good to be old. Good to be young. Let's get ready to rock and roll and get this show going. Come on, baby.
All right, Jan, let's do it.
I'm in.
Paul, as Frank Gifford, Howard Cosell used to say to Frank Gifford, 2026 Gillette Stadium, Frank, you were there. So
That's right.
You were there Sunday at Gillette Stadium, where the Patriots advanced incredibly to the AFC Championship game by beating the Houston Texans. Give us your impressions on the game but also the crowd since you were there.
Okay, great to be here, guys. So one thing I want to point out about those two playoff games, sort of in combination, is this is why you work for home field. Okay, I think the Patriots definitely had an edge in both games due to weather. You had a team coming from Southern California into what were very cold and windy conditions in the case of the Chargers. And then you had a dome team used to playing in ideal conditions coming into a stadium that had rain, sleet, light snow, whatever you want to call it. It was very wet the whole game. And I don't think we should discount that. I think that's why you try to get home field. So you can take advantage of your environment, your conditions, what you're used to. All right, let's put that aside. I thought both games were a little rough around the edges. I think, again, weather, had something to do with it. I think we saw Drake May, in the case of the more recent game against the Texans, have probably his worst game of the season. Certainly the weekly Pro Football Focus ratings had it very low. Arguably his worst game since the Steelers game where he kept turning the ball over, the third game of the season. But that aside, the defense in both games played very well. The offense did enough to win. The offense played well at the end. And that's winning football. Good defense, play at home in bad conditions, and have an opportunistic offense that is not going to be perfect, but gets enough points to beat the opposition. I think that's winning football. And I think that's what we didn't see in some of the other games. So we can get to that later. But if you think about some of the other games where they were just track meets, I think the Patriots, if you look across the landscape of the NFL, and I know in New England we all get sensitive that the national media doesn't talk about us enough, but the New England Patriots defense has been the most impressive unit in the entire playoffs, in my opinion. They've held two pretty decent teams to basically very little offense in two games. And I think that's got to be their formula going forward. So that's my take. For better or worse.
Jan?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Living out here in Colorado, all I can tell you is I loved it. I loved it, okay, because all they talk about here in Colorado is defense, okay? We got the best defense in the world. Well, their defense that's because they haven't seen the New England Patriots yet. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm tired of all the sports pundits talking about how great the Houston Texans defense is. And by the way, 9 out of 10, okay, of the sports pundits that I watched on TV all picked the Houston Texans. And you just don't give the New England Patriots enough credit. And being a Patriot fan, okay, you got to be really proud of this team and the future of this team. How lucky are we at being Patriot fans? We've just got off a 20-year run with Belichick, okay, and Brady. I'm telling you guys, we're ready for what I came out of this game is we're ready for another 20-year run with Vrabel and May. That's what I got out of this.
All right, my impressions were one, the Patriots proved this week and last week that they're a lot more than Drake May. They got a good defense, as you guys have talked about. They were able to run the ball when they had to, and they were able to make the plays, the winning plays, to win close, tough games. As you know, I'm not the biggest believer in home field, but weather does play a factor. For the record, in the playoffs, home field and road, 5-5, it's dead even. I think when weather comes in, that's a little bit different story.
Well, that was what I was trying to say. That's what I was
Patriots got a break with the weather this week, I think. And yes, Cole, I think the warm weather teams do struggle. So, although it is 5-5, I think weather changes it a bit. But it is 5-5. The road teams have done very well. If you just go by the numbers, it's dead even. The other thing I don't think we can discount, and this is something I have talked about for years. What I found remarkable at the beginning of that game was the Patriots had no one out. I thought they had one guy out, but he played and got hurt. They had no one out. Except, I guess, if you want to count Antonio Gibson.
Well, they had Matt Collins out, but he's back.
Of that game?
That game. Matt Collins was out for that
one
game.
Guy.
Yeah,
one
that's it.
Well,
guy.
no, Hollins was already out. I think what Jim means is this week he was out. He was not.
Yeah.
There was nobody out.
Yeah, there was no one listed.
Hollins was on IR.
Oh, you mean coming into this week?
Yeah, coming into this
okay.
week. Anyone that was questionable. Whereas Houston had Collins out, lost their top tight end, lost their second tight end. Now, that's not why the Patriots won. I think they would have won that game anyway. But this shows that health does matter. The Buffalo Bills having not a lot of receivers. We'll talk about that. So I think we have to consider ourselves very fortunate because, Jan, you talked about the defense. A lot of that is getting those guys back. The fact Gonzalez did not have to sit out a week for the concussion. The fact Landry came back. The fact Spillane came back the week before. The fact Tonga came back. Patriots prove when they're healthy, their defense is as good as anybody. So, I agree with most of what you guys are saying. Just great to be a Patriot fan again and looking forward to next week. Paul, what about the crowd? I can tell you from watching the games on TV. So please dissuade people of this. For some reason, I know you're very good at sound and how sound reverberates and transmits throughout, whether it be a recording or a stadium. I know you're very good at that. The Foxborough crowd does not seem as loud as, say, Seattle, any of the other three, frankly, until the Seattle game got out of control. Is there a reason for that? Because I know you guys are loud. I'm watching it.
There's two things at play here. Let's take them separately. Number one, the Foxborough crowd at Gillette last week was as loud as the Foxborough crowd at Gillette can be, given the fact that it's an open-air stadium, given the fact that everybody's wearing mittens, gloves, hats. It just makes it more difficult to really get super, super loud, but it was very loud. In fact, we saw a couple of false start penalties directly attributable to noise, and we also had a couple of timeouts called by Houston that may have been impacted by noise. I think the crowd was very loud. Fox, for whatever reason, not Fox, whatever network, I think it was Fox, right? Aikman and who was
they
doing
used
this?
to be
ESPN.
ESPN. I watched the game on ABC.
Yeah. ESPN with Fox and Aikman had the crowd noise turned down. Because the minute I got home, I watched the game on replay, and I said to myself, well, this is not the environment I was just in. So I can assure you that the Patriots are not the loudest, don't have the loudest stadium, because I've talked about, I've been to Arrowhead, I've been to the Meadowlands, I've been to the Seattle Stadium, which I've said many times is the loudest stadium I've ever been in. But the Gillette Stadium was more than enough loud enough.
Yeah. Now, Jan, let's go back to Drake May for a minute. Mediocre game the first game, decent game the second game. How do you assess him in his first two playoff games? I mean, he won, and that's the bottom line. He won.
Yeah, listen. He's his second year here. I mean, the guy had a remarkable second year, and showing up in the playoffs for the first time. Okay, you got to remember that this is a whole different environment. Okay, when you show up in playoff football. Now, I think first of all, he threw no interceptions last week. I'm not going to count that Hail Mary as an interception.
Right.
All right,
Right.
I'm not going to count that. He did fumble 3 times. Okay, and I don't think that was nerves. I just think maybe he wasn't used to the weather. Okay, I mean it was pretty slick out there between the sleet, the rain, and the snow. So because he didn't fumble a lot during the year. Okay, so to have 3 fumbles in one game, I really blame it all on the weather. I think his progress has been really, really good. I think he's in the running for the MVP, which he should be with Stafford, who also had a great year. He's up in, there's still a lot of work to do, but he's starting to learn to read defenses. Okay, you can watch him, or you watch him in a huddle too, how he takes control of that huddle. Okay, and pointing fingers at guys and everything like that. This kid is tough. Okay, he's smart. Okay, and I don't think we've had a Patriot that could throw a long ball like he could throw a long ball in a long time like that. And now that he's got receivers around him, I think he's got nowhere but to grow. And that's a second-year guy we're talking about that could be playing in a Super Bowl someday.
Yeah, in relation to that, Paul, I'd like to talk about the offensive line because in 2 of the last, 4 or 5 games, we've seen Will Campbell get torched by an All-Pro. It happened Sunday. It happened with Myles Garrett. Now, I think Will Campbell's going to be excellent. I think a lot of it goes back to what Jan's talking about with Drake May, which is it's his first year, and he's in the playoffs for the first time. So, do you consider that going into the Denver game, which we'll talk about in a minute, but some of those fumbles with Drake May, I mean, he didn't have seem to have the Brady sense of when there was someone coming in from his blind side. And that's Will Campbell. And, McDaniels a couple of times tried to adjust for that. And it was well shown on TV by ESPN and explained by Aikman that, hey, Henderson was supposed to chip him, Anderson. And he just barely brushed him if he touched him at all. Blew by Campbell and caused the fumble. Are you concerned about this going forward?
Yes. I think right now, Will Campbell is an average. Now, remember last year, they didn't really have any left tackle.
Right.
I mean, he's still young. He's had some very good games. But if you say on the side that he's Will Campbell, he's the #1 pick, and everybody's always talking about him for some reason. I mean, I've never heard in all my years listening to sports talk, if you add all the discussion about left tackles together, it doesn't equal the amount of attention this kid has gotten. And I think all things considered, he's held up pretty well. If you told me before the season he'll come into the league and he will be a middle of the road, maybe slightly better average offensive left tackle, I would have said that's a win. Now, if you take an average offensive left tackle and put him up against Will Anderson, and I think this was a coaching mistake, not often give him a tight end next to him to help. I didn't see it happen all that often. I think he's going to struggle, and I think he did struggle. Is he still dealing with something with the knee that held, the ankle that held him out? That's possible. But that's my feeling about Will Campbell. Yeah, I'm worried about it in the Denver game, but I have to hope as a fan that they're going to figure out some way to mitigate that risk.
Yeah, we
Either
did
by,
see.
running away from it, or from giving him help, or designing a different scheme. I don't know what that would be, but I don't think they're just going to put up with it.
We did see some 6 offensive lineman sets with Mumford in there during the game, but I kind of feel like you do. The Campbell needs some more help, whether it's Henderson being more effective on that block or another tight end.
Austin Hooper,
Well,
yeah.
That left side is dangerous. I mean, they're rookies. I mean, not only Campbell, but Wilson, you got on the left side too. So they're rookies. And they need help. Yeah, and all, but the fact of the matter is that, I was surprised, Paul, too. I was going to bring that up about the tight end. working closer on that side with Campbell and helping out
Oh,
a
we've
little bit
lost.
more.
Oh, there he
But
goes.
they've left Campbell most of the year one-on-one. And, yeah, he got burnt a lot this year. So either they're going to make adjustment. I think, they'll make those adjustments. And I think I thought Wilson had a pretty good year. Our running game really, really was really great with Dre and Trey Henderson and getting up there and running a lot up the middle where the guard and centers are. They look really, really good this year. I was very impressed with that. So I like the Wilson. I thought he had a very good year.
Okay, before we go on to the Denver game, let's look at the other three games quickly. Jan,
I just want to make one more point
yeah,
about the Patriots game. And it alludes to, I want to react to something. You brought up Drake May and his performance, and I wanted to weigh in on that a little bit. I have a very hot take about Drake May, which I haven't heard anybody else make. Are you guys ready? He's not perfect. Okay. He's got a weakness right now, which is he's a little bit lackadaisical in the pocket. He has a tendency to fumble occasionally. What did you and what did we all notice about Brady for 23 years? He throws picks in the red zone. He throws picks into the end zone. He did it in postseason games. He did it in big games. He wasn't perfect. Drake May isn't perfect. I think it's something he'll get better at. The other thing I found very strange about the Houston media post game was everybody said going into the game, the Patriots are going against the toughest defense, the best defense. How are they going to handle this defense? The defense is so good, it's so strong. And then the Patriots do have some problems against the defense, and everybody panics. They scored 21 points against the supposed best defense in the National Football League. That's pretty good. Fortunately, they got another 7 on defense. But it's funny that when people say the Patriots are going to go up against a good defense, and then they go against that good defense, and they win the game, people still find reason to get upset about it. I think it was a really good win. I think they played well enough to win. And I think my favorite part of the game was when they got the ball with 10 minutes left, and they kept it for 6 or 7 minutes, running the ball almost every play. That was impressive.
Reminded me of the old Patriots where they would get the lead, and in the fourth quarter, our big backs would just take the ball and run it and kill the time. There's a lot of that kind of similarity, but there is no question about it. Even after the game, everything was on talking about the Texan defense, and the other one they were talking about. I don't know what happened, but C.J. Stroud was just awful. Okay, now he was getting a lot of pressure from the Patriots. We put a lot of that was a pretty aggressive defense that they ran, and he was getting a lot of pressure. But he was the one that threw 4 interceptions. So let's not forget that as well.
Yeah, I want to make 2 points here in response to this. One, the Patriots did run the ball at the end, but Josh McDaniel is going to be Josh McDaniel. He didn't run the ball on the last down before they had to punt, despite the fact Houston had no timeouts, and we were, I think, under the 2-minute warning with a 2-score lead. Okay? Josh McDaniel is going to call the play he thinks will work. That line was stacked against the run. He tried to pass and end the game. It's going to happen. I was happy to see them run. It's one of the few times I disagreed with him on that philosophy because they had no timeouts, and the Pats were up 2 scores. The second thing is, this is one place that I kind of maybe depart a little from Patriots fans. I don't know why everybody obsesses with the media. I just don't care. And frankly, I think this is better because for some reason, football players, coaches love the us versus them, us versus the world. Nobody thinks we can do it. So my message to the media is keep it up. Keep it up. Give the Patriots, if that works, keep it up. Keep talking about Houston. Talk about Denver. I remember the famous Super Bowl poll when Rodney Harrison was like, nobody thought we could do it. They were favored.
Right.
So keep it up. I'm fine with it. Let's get on to the other 3 games. Jan, let's go to you. Denver, Buffalo, heck of a game in your neck of the woods out there. Just a brief what do you think of that game? What is the reaction in Denver, I guess, too?
Well, of course, everybody's really excited. Obviously, they won that game, and they got they're going to be home again this week. But I got to tell you, there was a lot of watching that game. There was nothing to get too thrilled about. Their defense is, they do have a top-notch defense. I'm not going to deny that. But, when I look at the numbers, when I compare numbers for their defense, and then I have the numbers from the Patriot, I'm looking at these numbers now with the Patriot defense, not a whole bunch of difference, okay? Run defense, they're number 1 in run defense, and we were number 4 in run defense. They were number 7 in passing yards allowed. We were number 9 in passing yards allowed. So it's not much of a difference. They've got a great defense. The fans go nuts here. You talk about loud. This is a very loud stadium, and the fans are loud. They are boisterous. They are tough, okay? They can talk trash with the best of the fans around. So this is an environment. And they came out of that game saying, wow, we did a great job. They did, but there's problems up in Buffalo. That game pointed out a lot of problems in Buffalo. They don't have a great defense, number 1. Number 2, they don't have a great running game. And number 3, they got no receiver. Okay? Josh Allen, everybody's talking. He's the best player in the American football, in the conference, American Football Conference, AFC. Okay? Well, you can't be the best football player when you're surrounded with a team like that. They can't win games without a better defense and without receivers. He's got nobody to throw to. His best receivers are his tight ends, and one of them was hurt. He used Kincaid was there, but the other guy, I can't remember his name. He was. So I mean, Buffalo's got issues that came out of the game. Denver is Denver. Bo Nix was that was Bo Nix's best game of the year. I watch a lot of Bronco games out here, obviously, because I want to talk football with these guys, and all they want to talk about is the Broncos. So I do watch a lot of Bronco games. That was probably his best game of the year.
Paul, what was your impression of Josh Allen in that game?
I think we saw the best and the worst of him. We saw a guy that can make plays that very few people are able to make on their best day. And you saw how quickly they can score. I mean, at one point it looked like Denver had a commanding lead. And I went to get a drink and I come back down and Buffalo's winning. Like it was that fast that they flipped the score. The problem is the turnovers. You just can't keep turning the ball over. You can't they kept giving Denver, opportunities to stay in the game. I went away from that game thinking the better team lost the game. And I think that's what led to Aaron McDermott, which we can maybe touch on later. But
we will.
I'm happy as a Patriots fan at this point to be going to play at Denver with Stidham versus Josh Allen coming into Foxborough. As much as I wanted the home game, now that we know that we don't have Stidham on the other side, I think the Patriots got lucky.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Paul.
See, the other thing I'm going to say, the one thing I want to say about Josh Allen, they all talk about how really great he is. He is. But he's been in the league now, 7 years, 8 years in the league now, okay? He makes some really dumb plays, best way to when he was there in that game. And it cost them the game. It cost Buffalo the game, that dumb play at the end of the half, at the end of the first half, when I don't know what he was doing, but he flipped the ball out, okay, and everything. He gave them an extra 3 points. They lost the game by 3 points.
Okay? That's right. Yeah.
By the way, we'll get
so sometimes the only thing I would worry about is why does he do those things?
He's trying to force plays, I think. We'll get to this in a minute, but I think the one team that's as disrespected as the Patriots, we'll get to this in a minute, is Denver. I listen to national stuff. Nobody likes them.
Nobody.
Their schedule isn't much better than the Pats, and nobody likes them. Everybody predicted Buffalo. We'll get to that in a minute, though. Paul, let's go to the one blowout game there. You've been in that stadium in Seattle. You've got experience with that crowd, which is, my opinion. I thought Jan's right about Denver, by the way, but Seattle, I'm kind of with you. That's just incredible out there.
Mhm.
Expected because of the San Francisco injuries. Any surprises to you there?
No, I think that San Francisco's Cinderella sort of run just ran out. I mean, it was a perfect storm. They come in banged up. They're playing a team that had coming off a bye, a very good team, and they give up an opening kickoff for a touchdown.
Right.
And now you're spotting the opponent on the road, 7 points. It's just one of those games where the wheels came off early, and then it became obvious that San Francisco had no shot. So the final score is really kind of irrelevant to the outcome. It was just the end of the road for a team that I think deserves a lot of credit. I think Shanahan deserves, if not coach of the year, one of the top two or three,
Agree.
because he held it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about that game other than it was just a blowout.
Yeah, I agree. And I switched that game to the Celtics game. It was so bad. Jan, let's go to something more interesting. The Bears, the miracle team, the miracle player in Caleb Williams. Looks like he does it again with that heave into the end zone for the touchdown that ties it. And then, he throws the pick, miscommunication with Moore. But, very entertaining game. It reminded me a little of the Pats game, a little sluggish. Rams didn't get going with their high-powered offense. MVP candidate wins the game in overtime. What'd you think of that one? That was much more interesting.
Well, it was a fun game to watch. I was enjoying it. Well, first of all, I didn't have to worry about the Patriot game or anything, so it was fun watching it. Right, so that was good. It was the first time I watched Chicago for a full game this year. Okay, and I will admit I was pretty impressed with Caleb Williams. He really that pass in the end zone at the end was remarkable. I have no idea how he found the guy and how he was able, running to his left, be able to cross his body and throw it 40 yards down the field right into the end zone. Now the guy was open, but it was remarkable. But then, then it came in the overtime and it was not such a good play. He's had one of these on and off years. I think they got a great coach when they got this guy Johnson, from Detroit. And I think he's worked with Caleb. When you look at Caleb Williams this year versus last year, when I've seen him for a couple of full games there's a big difference. You can see that right away. Smarter. So I think Chicago should be pretty happy with that. Offensively, they're going to be fine. Defensively, they're a good team. Not a great team, but a good team. And, they just walked away. They just couldn't pull it off at the end.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do it.
I want to say one thing about it. I'm sure if I researched it, I could think of a better throw that I've seen. Until that throw, the greatest throw that I ever remember seeing a quarterback make was an incomplete pass. And that was Brady's last ditch throw to Randy Moss at the end of the Super Bowl in the undefeated 18-1 season, which Brady threw 75 yards in the air right to Randy Moss, right to his fingertips, across the field, 65 yards downfield, and by a miracle, it wasn't caught. The Caleb Williams throw, I think, is the best completed pass that I can remember seeing.
Yeah.
He takes the snap on the 21-yard line. He backs up 19 yards. Keep in mind, watching it on TV doesn't really show how difficult it is. From ground level, he has to see 45 yards downfield to an open receiver who has two defenders in front of him. I mean, it was an insane throw. And I felt bad that they didn't end up winning the game because I just thought it might, be fun for them to pull it out. I have no affinity for either team.
Right.
But it's interesting, Jim. That's the second year in a row that the Southern California Rams have gone on the road in a blizzard and competed. They almost beat the Eagles last year.
They did. They almost beat them.
Right. And they won that game in Chicago in even worse weather conditions, really. Just bitter, bitter cold. I don't know how people stood it sitting in that game last night. So kudos to the Rams. That was probably the most entertaining game of the weekend.
Yeah.
In terms of just, watching it.
Okay, let's segue a bit. Let's stay on that, and we'll get to the Pats in a minute. There are those who believe that The Rams and the Seahawks, pick your order, are the two best teams left. Mad Dog Russo went so far as to call it the title game, which I strongly disagree with. If the Patriots-Rams game didn't prove that in the first Super Bowl win, I don't know what will. This is football. It's not a 7-game series. Jan, my take on Seahawks-Rams, two really good teams. Rams with the high-powered offense. Again, not a big believer in home field, but I do think in Seattle, that is a factor given how loud they are. However, my take is Stafford's one of the quarterbacks with his experience, the fact he's a Super Bowl winner. He can handle that crowd. He can make adjustments without people hearing him with hand signals and that. He's experienced enough to do it. I am going to take the Rams in that game because I like Stafford and McVay. I like them over Darnold and the Seattle coach. Seattle's coach is a good coach. I just like McVay. I like the fact he came out and said he coached poorly and they bailed him out. I like that kind of honesty. So I'm taking the Rams. Jan, who are you picking in that game?
I'm gonna go with Seattle. I think that home field advantage is going to be huge up there. I think that crowd noise and the way that stadium is built right off that water or the river, is going to be a big advantage to them. That was, by the way, that was the first game I watched fully for Seattle. I was highly impressed. Now they lost Charbonnet is his name, the running back.
Yeah, they lost their running back. That's right.
They lost that running back, and so the two. Whoa. All right, wait a minute. I got to ship them. Sorry, guys. I'm very professional. Okay. So, anyways, beside that, so that's going to hurt them a little bit.
Yeah.
Really. But Walker looks really, really good. But they need Charbonnet in there. They're going to miss him. Okay, that I will give you. But I think the overall factor in that game, I really believe. I don't think. I think Stafford versus Donald. It's hard not to pick Stafford over Donald, but he's something else. You got to hand it to the kid. He's really come a long way from the New York Jets. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, Paul. I think, trying to be objective about it, the Seattle-LA game, regular season game, the second one, by a lot of people's opinions who really follow football, that was the best game of the year. If you're neutral, if you're not a Pats fan, if you're not a Giants fan, if you're not a whatever fan. I'm hoping we have another game like that.
Yes.
Do you think it's going to be close? You've talked about Seattle's home field. What do you think of that one?
Well, I don't think that the home field will mean quite as much in a game where both teams are so competitive. It could be I guess they say it's a 2 or 3. Oops, they say it's a 2 or 3 point advantage for the home team. Seattle has lost at home this year. They're 6-2 at home.
Yep.
They're 6-2 at home. It's not a guarantee. I just think that almost every year there's a number 1 seed that gets the bye and gets to the Super Bowl. I mean, if history is any guide, that tends to be the way. It doesn't happen that both number 1 seeds. I mean, it's not typical that both number 1 seeds go, although it does happen. But virtually every year, a number 1 seed makes it. And it feels like this is Seattle's year. The Rams, this will be their 3rd week in a row on the road. I'm sure they can handle it. But I'm going to go with Seattle in a close game. Not so much because of the home team. I just feel like they're the juggernaut this year in the NFL that's going to go wire to wire and win their conference.
Okay, Paul, follow up. Who are they going to play? Now we'll get to our team and the one we care about the most. Who's Seattle going to play? Yeah, go.
I'll go first. If all things were equal, I would choose Denver. I would say that with Bo Nix and that crowd and that defense, that the Patriots' Cinderella season, whatever you want to call it, would likely be coming to an end. But I can't pick Denver with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. And I think what the Patriots need to do is, this seems obvious, but get them into 3rd down. because that's when the quarterback has to start thinking, what am I going to see? Are they going to blitz? Are they going to, what's the coverage? And everybody is saying, both locally and nationally across the media, that Zach Kerr and the Patriots defense have been disguising their coverages better than any other team. Like, you don't know what you're looking at. And so Stidham may have a decent arm. He may be a little bit mobile. He may not be a complete rookie. He's been in the league 6 years, but he hasn't contended with that. And I think if the Patriots can force Denver into third downs and get a couple of turnovers and not to turn the ball over themselves, right? That's, going to be an emphasis for Drake May. I think the Patriots win by 8+, 7 or 8 points.
Ken, what's the mood in Colorado? And with losing Bo Nix, and who do you like in that game?
Oh well, yeah. If I would have just said this if Bo Nix was in there, okay, that this is going to be a toss-up game and it's going to go really down to the wire. And I'm not going to go against the Patriots. Their defense may not be as tough, but offensively, I think we can score 21 points. If we can score 21 points, we win that game because they don't score a lot of points, Denver, even with Bo Nix. That was the most points they scored probably all year, I think, in that game, that last game. So you got to remember that because they're not their offense. They have no running game at all. Okay, they have really a weak receiving core. You watch this guy Sutton that they're supposed to be their ace receiver. He dropped 2 passes right in his hands last week. So they've got some issues there as well. Now they got Sean Payton, who you can't deny he knows how to run an offense and everything like that. But after Sean Payton, I don't see anything offensively that's that strong. So if they got to rely on their defense, that's not going to be enough, in my opinion, in this game. And I just can't go. I don't see still the sports people are all talking about Denver. The fans are all excited. The Patriots don't have a chance. Okay. Nobody's as of now, nobody's giving the Patriots a shot, even though they've won 2 playoffs.
Are you talking about the Denver media?
Yeah, it's nationally they're favored.
No, the Denver media. No, I'm talking about the TV guys. I watch NFL Live. I watch Get Up. I watch First Take. Okay, all these guys that they're saying if I had to pick, I would still pick. I would probably have to.
That's what I heard. Denver was favored by 5.5. I mean, yeah.
NFL Live had five of their experts. Okay, they all picked Houston. Nobody picked the Patriots.
Oh no, that's true.
Right, and then on Get Up after the game, everybody's talking about the Texans and how they lost that game. CJ Stroud was terrible. And the Patriots got a little lucky on this. That was the only time I heard them say Patriots. All right. Okay. So I'm tired of this, and I'm telling you the Patriots are going to win it. Patriots score 21 points or more. It's a lock. Okay.
Okay. My take, I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, Mad Dog Russo, my favorite radio host, has said, now this is a non-Patriots fan, we need to do I'm paraphrasing, we need to do everything we can to keep Denver out of the Super Bowl. He feels with Denver, there are no storylines. There's none. If the Pats win, he feels like, say the Rams win, it's May versus Stafford, which are the 2 MVP candidates. Great storyline. And I don't know if he mentioned this or not, but if it's the Pats versus Seattle, you got a Super Bowl rematch. So he has declared that we must do everything we can to keep Denver out.
Well, if it's the Rams, Jim, you get a double rematch.
That's right.
It's 0-1 and
yeah,
13.
That's right. Second,
no, I said this. I texted this to some of you guys. I don't know if Jim was on that string. Or win, because the Super Bowl line is going to be 11, 12.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to. I mean, I guess they could rally around Stidham and say he just beat the Patriots. Can he do it again?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's going to be tough.
Couple of other things. We have heard, the Patriots schedule. Guys, if people go on whatever, ESPN, whatever, and look at the standings, yes, the Patriots played absolutely historically, and I mean historically weak schedule. Guess what? Denver's wasn't much better. Their strength of victory was like 0.8 points better, and their strength of schedule was about 30 or 40 better, but it was like 422 or something like that. Not a great schedule. Sorry. So this isn't a case of that. Unfortunately for me, who hates this part of broadcasts, which CBS and Romo are the worst in my opinion, Sean Payton is a recognized football offensive genius. So we're going to be seeing clip after clip of Sean Payton speaking into the laminated piece of cardboard with his play sheet, and Tony Romo, since this is he must have used the term genius call or brilliant call 10 times in the last game he covered. My message is this. We kid around a lot about chats about genius and brilliant football. We're kidding around. We're not serious. This is not rocket science. Yep. Sean Payton, he's not a genius on rocket science. So that's going to drive me crazy in that telecast.
So true.
Yeah. Second of all, where I personally think they're going to miss Bo Nix. Bo Nix, to me, he hasn't had like a Drake May season. He's had a Drake May season in the clutch. He's been a great fourth quarter quarterback. That team, to their credit, has been behind in almost every game they've played this year and came out with the same record as the Pats, 14-3. So they're going to miss him, to me, down the stretch. I think they can get by with Stidham for 3 quarters. I think it's going to be the fourth quarter. It's hard for me to pick against the Pats in this game, even though I would if they had Nix. And I really, for the sake of argument, want to pick Denver, but I can't do it. I can't be the contrarian here. The more I talk about it, I have to pick the Pats.
That's a big concession. That's a big concession for you to not be.
It is, and I want the Pats to win. I want to be wrong. You guys can come back and blast me next week, but just for the show. But I can't do it. The more I talk about it, because I can see Stidham having a very good. Running the ball. But what if he's behind at the end of a game? Now, having said that, Nick Foles had played 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, that's not a good comparison. People keep bringing up Hostetler and Foles. They had been playing. Hostetler.
Sims got hurt during the regular season.
They'd been
playing 3 or 4 games, plus the playoffs. So that's what I look at that. And so I guess we're unanimous, which is a little bit boring, but go Pats.
Can I make one more point on the game, Jim?
Of course. Go.
I don't want to jinx it. I think Denver is going to say, how do we equalize this game? We got to knock May out. You're talking about a coach that's already been suspended for a year for Bounty Gate. I don't care what anybody says. I saw the Pittsburgh Steelers go after Brady's ankles in the 2001 AFC title game, knocked him out, twisted the ankles twice before they finally got him. Now, fortunately, we had Drew Bledsoe as a backup. Patriots don't have that. If I'm Drake May, I'm going to slide a little extra early, get out of bounds a little extra early, and watch my back, because that's how they equalize this game. They get it to be Stidham versus Josh Dobbs. And if I'm Vrabel, I'm saying to my offense, we got to protect this guy. And I'm saying to May, you got to be smart.
If they get May out of the game, I think Denver's going to win that game. That goes back to what we were talking about with Will Campbell on the left side of the line, too. I mean, there's nothing that can knock them out more than a blind hit. All right, let's, we got about 10, 15 minutes, but let's move on. In the NFL, at this time last year, Paul, you asked, you wanted to bring this up, and I think it's a good topic. This time last year, the Patriots had fired their coach. And what we all, we talked about that on a previous show. The last couple of weeks, but I don't know. I don't claim to be an NFL aficionado that knows how many get fired every year, but boy, this seems like a lot.
Well,
We haven't even got to Super Bowl bye week yet.
Right.
This seems a lot.
Yeah, there were 10 fired not that long ago in 2022, but usually the number is more in the 5 or 6 range. The only one of these that really, to me, I didn't agree with was Mike Tomlin. Now, people say it was a mutual decision. I don't believe that. I think they said to him, it's time to go. I think they made it clear they wanted him to retire or resign or move on. When I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I look at a team that's been a model of competitiveness, a model of consistency, that's had a clear identity. Do I think Mike Tomlin is a genius at managing games or anything like that? No. Have I disagreed with him at times? Yes. But man, that's a franchise I've always admired, and I think you're in that camp too, Jim.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, no question. I agree completely.
And I think I've always admired stability at the coaching position. I mean, you look at Bill Belichick. Between 2005 and 2013, he had the GOAT. He had the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. He had Rob Gronkowski. He had Randy Moss. He had Vince Wilfork, and he didn't win. You know, the fact that the Steelers haven't won or they've been making the playoffs and not winning it, that doesn't land 100% on Tomlin. The problem the Steelers have had is that they haven't moved on from Beth Roethlisberger. That's the problem. They haven't found the quarterback. Now, unless someone tells me that was Tomlin's decision, Tomlin didn't draft a good quarterback, then okay, then I'll buy that. But I just think from a coaching and team perspective, going out and hiring that's a team that's had 3 coaches in 55 years, right?
Yeah.
Right?
No, I agree on the franchise. They've been solid, man. They're solid. And any thoughts?
Yeah, hold on. Just so that so if you look around the league, what really happens is if you don't have a good quarterback, you end up getting fired. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Because you can't compete.
Well, that's right.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Tomlin or anybody else?
Yeah, there's one thing I don't know. I looked at the Tomlin fire. I don't think Tomlin was fired. I disagree with Paul on that. I really think that he was tired. Okay. And I think they, when they had their conversation, he was expecting the owner. Now the owner said on TV, he said, I wanted him back another year. He needed a break. Tomlin needed a break. And Tomlin is now looking for another coaching job right now. And nobody's picked him, right? So maybe he's right. Maybe he is tired. 19 years. Great record, okay. Never, but made the playoffs. I don't remember how many times, but he's made the playoffs quite a few times.
Every year.
And he can still manage a game, okay. But this is a quarterback league. If he hasn't, that's the one thing I don't understand. What took him so long to understand that you need a quarterback, and he never really, in my opinion, made it. This is where I agree with Paul. He never made an effort. It seems like to pick up a quarterback. The only one he picked up was that Pittsburgh one, Pickett, was it?
Well, who's the he you're talking about?
Huh?
I mean, if the GM is making the decisions, how's that his fault?
Well, no, that's probably true. But then to fire the GM then. I mean, but I don't think they was fired him, Paul. I think he was tired. I think he wanted a break. I'm not saying he's finished coaching, but I think he just wanted a break at this point. And you're not going to win, and you're not going to win a Super Bowl without at least a very, very good quarterback.
Yeah.
If they had said to him, sorry, I got to say this. If they had said to him, Mike, you're a Steeler for life. We love you. You're our guy. We're going to give you an extension. No way he quits. He was fired.
Okay,
that's my take.
I think he needed the rest. I'm not saying he won't be back coaching again. All right, but I
want to just go to Paul's other point.
And Paul and I never disagree. We never disagree.
No, that's
never. We never agree.
Yeah. Well, good point on the fact that if you don't have a quarterback, you get fired. That's like you can't get the stud in the NBA. I mean, unless the coach is the general manager, I don't see how that's his fault. And it's not easy to get. I mean,
No.
just look at what happened here. Belichick tried to get the next guy in Jimmy Garoppolo, and may, if he was on his own, have traded Brady because he thought Garoppolo was the next guy. Wasn't able to do that. Won another Super Bowl, and then it took Mac Jones, Cam Newton, until they finally got Drake May. The other thing with Tomlin is, if we look at the NBA a little bit and look at these quarterbacks, yes, quarterbacks can come great in any round, but you got a better shot if you're at the top. I mean, Caleb Williams, Jalen Williams, Drake May. It looks like that was a stud quarterback class right now.
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, right. Williams was a star last year. May and Williams have had great years this year. I mean, Jalen Daniels. And Bo Nix. So Tomlin is almost too good for his own good. He makes the playoffs every year. He never gets that high pick. Now, could he have taken more quarterbacks? I don't know enough about the Steelers. But let's just briefly, before we wrap this up and make some brief Celtic points. The other big firing to me is McDermott. There's a case where he had the quarterback and didn't win. So they just said enough. And I know it wasn't all his fault. And he overall, I think he did a good job. But my personal opinion is I can't disagree with the Bills for the simple reason that sometimes when you lose that consistently, and by the way, they're not losers. They've made big games. Josh Allen lost a huge game against Mahomes because he lost a coin flip and he got a rule change. That's like when they banned dunking in college basketball because Jabbar was too dominant. And who else? He got a rule change because of that. But having said that, I do think, and personally, if I were them, I would not be looking long term. Josh Allen is now 31. I'd be no assistants, no hoping to get lucky with a Ben Johnson. I'd be hiring the best former head coach out there. And I know they'll never do this, but man, it would be great theater. I would look at Bill Belichick if I were them. Hey, Bill, 3 years. Try to win a Super Bowl with Josh Allen. I tell him we're going to make the picks, but hey, write your number down. We might be able to match your number. So, any thoughts on McDermott, guys, before we switch?
Yeah, I just want to say
go ahead, Jim.
I think the only thing I would say is that of the 9 coaches that they're looking for, 9 teams McDermott is the one coach, okay, that he got shafted. And I don't think that guy deserved it. It's not his fault. Now, there's a general manager. If they're so upset with him, and after all these years that they couldn't get to a Super Bowl, what are they keeping a general manager for?
I do agree with that too, especially with all the weaknesses you pointed out earlier.
Yeah, and Paul pointed that out. So the general manager has a lot to say in this stuff. So that's what I don't understand. If they would have fired both of them, I probably would have said maybe.
They promoted the GM.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was promoted.
They made him president.
Yeah.
They gave him Paul's title.
President.
All right, Paul, any thoughts on McDermott before we
real quick. I think there's more drama here. I think there's more drama than meets the eye. Keep in mind that supposedly they're reporting now overnight that I think Vic Carucci, who covers both nationally and Buffalo for the NFL, has reported that at a meeting 4 or 5 weeks ago, McDermott told the GM and the president, "I don't have the talent to win," which ruffled their feathers. And then I think McDermott at some point made a public statement congratulating the Jaguars for their excellent pickup of Jacoby Myers as a wide receiver, which Buffalo insiders interpreted as a very subtle dig at the Bills' refusal to trade a number 1 pick for Waddle in Miami. You're not trying to make our team better, that kind of thing. So I think there's a little more there than his actual skills as a coach. But I have to say that move does not surprise me that much. Do I think it's fair, unfair? I don't really care about that. I'm not surprised that a guy that knocks on the door with a talent like that every year and doesn't win gets fired. But I go back to Belichick. From '05 to 13, he kept knocking on the door and not winning, kept his job.
But he had won 3 times. I think
No, that's true.
yeah.
But it just goes to show that you can knock on the door a
For a
lot
long time.
and
Peyton
not
Manning.
win.
Peyton
Yeah.
Manning for a quarterback. Jan, we got
Yeah.
about 5 minutes. Since you're on the show, we know you're a diehard Celtics fan, big Celtics fan. I want to talk about the Pistons game, but before we do that, I got to get your impressions from afar of what we've been talking about on this show is a very surprising Celtics season. What do you think?
Surprising is not the word I'd use. Shocked is probably a better word. Okay. First of all, I don't get as many games out here with my setup that I have as I watch. But I've caught about 10 games. I've caught about 10 games. And I still don't know half the guys' names on the team. Okay. I mean that sarcastically. I mean, it's just, it is remarkable. I am shocked that this team is doing as well as they are without Tatum. I mean, but you got to hand it to, people like White and Pritchard. I mean, these guys have really stepped up, really, really stepped up. And so as far as that goes, I mean, we may get Tatum back right before the playoffs and,
Good.
Can hang in there the way they're doing. It is. I was totally surprised. I turned on the game, and every time I turned it on, I said, "Who's that guy?" I don't Oh, then he says his name. Said, "Oh, I know him now." So it's hard, but they have a team now, and you got to hand to the coach. Coach is doing a good job.
Yeah, he is.
You got to handle to the front office. The front office has done a really nice job of holding this thing together under some very difficult situation.
Yeah, I agree. I want to get to, since we're running out of time, I want to get to the Pistons game. And the reason I want to talk about one game is, we've talked on this show about regular season versus playoff basketball. That game Monday night was playoff basketball. I mean, top 2 teams in the East. And it was just, this has now developed into another Celtics-Pistons rivalry. For the 3rd time, Isaiah Stewart, who, is a boxes, has gotten a scuffle, and it's not a fight like hockey. I get that. It's a basketball skirmish, right, with Jaylen Brown. But I think this rivalry is back. This is back to, the Bird era. This is back to Garnett era, where they had to get through Detroit to win the title. They've played 4 times. No game has been more than 7 points. The Pistons have won 3 out of 4, but Celtics haven't had Tatum. Pistons had I think Cunningham didn't play in one game. Pistons had a lot of I think almost all their good players the other night. They played at home. And the Celtics came down to a shot that I loved, the Jaylen Brown fadeaway. He makes that, 50% of the time. As Drew Carter calls him, the mid-range maestro. He's having he just got voted onto the All-Star team. He was the media's #1 pick in the East. But that game was hard defense, physical. Detroit may be the most physical team in the Celtics. And the Celtics went to the line over 30 times. Yeah. And by the way, had a good shooting percentage. And Brown missed 2 big ones, but then he came back and hit 2 incredible shots. The first one with Tobias Harris, who, by the way, had a flashback game, was Clippers game. I haven't seen him play a game like that in whatever years. But credit to him. He was all over Brown, down the left side, shooting right-handed off the window. Well, just an amazing regular season game. And I think, even though they lost, it's indicative of, I don't think there's any question now. The Celtics can play with any team in the East. And the big question is, if Tatum comes back, how far they can blend him in to what they're doing now, because Brown is great. And that's not going to be an easy coaching thing to do.
That's a good segue for me, because the point I wanted to make, and I know we're short on time, is I think that everything I'm about to say about the Celtics relates solely to the Eastern Conference, because I think we're a tale of 2 leagues right now.
Sure.
The West is 20% better overall than the East. I think the Celtics are very competitive in the East. I think that they can play, as you said, play with anybody. I think what we saw the other night, however, was a very positive sign, but we also saw a negative sign that when Derek White doesn't have a good game,
Right.
they struggle to win because you can't have one guy go 31, 15, 9 every night. You need that second good, reliable player. And White wasn't just bad, he was really bad the other night.
4
If I
points.
think if White had had a good game, never mind a great game, I think the Celtics would have won.
Yeah.
So if they Tatum on Monday had a public workout.
An hour.
Okay. He was dunking. He was playing one-on-one basketball against one of their experienced coaches who's a former player. He showed a lot of good moves. I guess the question is, do they think they have a shot to make the final? I don't think the Celtics, I think if I'm Brad Stevens, the decision point isn't can we win the championship? I think it's can we win the East?
I agree. A finals appearance is worth it.
Right?
I agree
So I think
100% with that.
Yeah. So I think if they think they can win the East, he will come back end of February, beginning of March.
I hope you're right. Hey, we're out of time. Jan, thank you so much for filling in for our good friend Ken Berman. It was a pleasure to have you back. Fascinating observations about Denver that we would not have had you being there. Paul, thank you. I'm Jim Russo. That concludes another edition of Boston Sports Nuts, and need I say it, it is just so much fun back in the AFC title game. Go Pats.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Boston Sports Nuts. You can find all of our episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to westwoodmediacenter.tv or follow Boston Sports Nuts on Facebook, Instagram, and X.